esteem we uphold. Superb technology for development. Forever in God we trust. Your sanctity is our pledge to thee.
Good day, everyone. So I'll be treating with you today strategic financial management, and the topic is cost of capital. Now, before I talk about cost of capital, there are certain things you have to know. The reason why you have to take this topic serious. Without this topic, some of your basic some of the things you need to know in financial management, you won't be able to know them if you did not understand this cost of capital very well. Cost of capital serves as the basis of your knowledge in financial management. Another thing is, for this semester, if you did not understand cost of capital, you can't be able to understand almost 90% of your syllabus in FM this semester. So that is the more reason why you need to take this topic very, very serious. Now, companies are faced with three main decisions, which are financing decision, investment decision, and dividend decision. Now, let's assume you have a business idea, or let's assume a company has an idea. A company intends to embark on a project. It has made some feasibility study, and it has concluded that it wants to do so project. That is an investment decision. They have decided they want to invest. In investing, how will they source for their finance? How are they going to invest in? They will need some funds. Right? They will need some funds to invest. That is where investment decision comes in. And that's where financing decision comes in. Where are we going to see the money? Who will borrow us the money to invest or to carry out this investment decision? That is where financing decision comes in. That is where financing decision says, okay, the company will now look at its various sources of finance, be it short term, medium term, and long term. But most of the time, long term for long term projects. Now, after the financing decision, those people that gave you money, that lend you money to invest, you are going to give them returns. You are going to give them either interest or dividend. For debentures or loan, you give them interest, or bonds, you give them interest. But for shares, you give them dividend. Now, that is where, under that dividend decision, that's where cost of capital comes in. The cost of capital now says that how much are you going to give those people that borrow you money? The minimum amount you are going to give them, so that their wealth, their market value will not change. Remember that if the company did not invest, if those investors did not invest in your company, they also have so many things to do with their money. Definitely, how much are you going to give them so that they won't feel they are losing money? Now, the cost of capital. Let's read the cost of capital. It says cost of capital is the minimum required rate of return which all provider of funds expect from the amount invested, so as to keep their present wealth unchanged. The minimum required rate of return. That's what cost of capital means. That is the minimum amount you have to be giving them every year. Now, it is a rate of return which is applied by all corporate companies on all investment appraisal in order to determine the present value of all cash inflows and outflows. Now, cost of capital, we can split cost of capital into three. We have the cost of equity. Equity means ordinary shares and reserves. Cost of preference shares and cost of debenture. So I shall take this in turn, one after the other. Cost of equity. Cost of equity, remember it is for ordinary shares. It can be categorized into two. We have without growth and we have with growth. So let's talk about without growth. For cost of equity with growth, this is the minimum required rate of return expected by all ordinary shareholders without growth for ordinary shareholders so as to keep their wealth unchanged. So now, without growth, cost of equity without growth simply means ordinary shareholders do not want or do not expect, not that do not want, they do not expect any growth in dividend. They expect that once they are receiving an amount of dividend, that's the amount they'll be receiving every year, because they believe their dividend is fixed for ordinary shares. They do not want, it's not that they do not want any progress, but they believe once they are receiving any constant growth in dividend, any constant dividend, they believe it's okay for them. So shareholders are not the same. Some will want their dividend to be increasing every year, and some will be indifferent whether to increase their dividend or not. Now, for cost of equity without growth, the formula is KE is equals to DO, like this. This is the formula. Where the KE is this, your DO is this, and the price per share, then your XDIV, PS XDIV means price per share excluding dividend. And I said note, where cum div is given, cum div means with dividend. There is need to convert your cum div to XDIV because the formula says you should use XDIV, not cum div. So if you want to convert your cum div to XDIV, you use cum div, you deduct your dividend from that price per share. You have to deduct your dividend to convert it back to XDIV. Now, hint on how to determine if share price is cum div or XDIV. How do you know if a share price is as include dividend or not? Number one, where dividend has not been paid, it is cum div. If the question specifically says that dividend has not been paid, it is cum div. But if the question says where dividend has been paid, it is XDIV. If the question says where dividend is about to be paid, it means dividend has not been paid. Definitely it is cum div. So that's how to understand that aspect. Now let's briefly look at an illustration. XYZ is an equity-based finance company. It has 600,000 ordinary shares in issue. Shares are being quoted at 250 kobo per share. The company paid a dividend of 50 kobo per share. Required, determine the cost of equity. Now remember that the formula is KE is equals to DO all over PS XDIV. Now, one thing I want you to know is cost of equity or cost of capital is always expressed in percentage. Your end results are always in percentage. So that's one thing I want you to know. Now, in this question, the formula you use is, which I've given you earlier, KE is equals to DO all over PS XDIV. As in this here. This is the formula. So where your DO is current year dividend, the PS is price per share excluding dividend. So remember your DO, they said the company paid a dividend of 50 kobo. So this is your DO. You say 50 kobo all over your price per share. Your price per share 250 kobo. 250 kobo. So XDIV. So the question, remember I gave you some conditions to note if the question is in cum div or ex div. You can see the question did not state anything. So definitely you assume that the market price are in ex div. So you write your 250 kobo there. Then times 100. Then you divide. Whenever it gives you, that's your answer. So that's just it. One funniest part about cost of capital is you can do it in another way, you can do it in different ways, but you still arrive at the same answer. For example, you can do it like this. You can convert this 50 kobo. 50 kobo means 0.5. That's 0.5 all over. You convert them to naira. 2 naira 50 kobo times 100 still give you 20%. In fact, you can still do it in another way, or you can still convert them. Since this one is in kobo, this one is in naira, you can still convert them to total. So you can say 50 kobo times the number of ordinary shares. Remember, the number of ordinary shares is 600,000 ordinary shares. So times 600,000 shares all over 2.5 times 600,000 shares times 100 will still give you 20%. So whichever way you do it, you still arrive at the same answer. So that's just that about that. So let's go to illustration 2. So illustration 2. Illustration 2. ABC PLC is financed entirely by equity. 200,000 equity. 200,000 ordinary shares is currently in the company's capital structure. The company declared a dividend of 25,000 naira to all equity holders, which is about to be paid. Share price are being quoted at 10% premium. So you see that the dividend they gave you in the question, it is not per share. They said 25,000 to all ordinary shareholders. To all ordinary shareholders. So solution now. Remember, you are using KE is equals to DO all over PS X div. So now our dividend in this question, they said 25,000 naira. You can write your 25,000 naira all over your price per share X div. Remember that they said the dividend, the company declared a dividend of 25,000 naira to all equity holders, which is about to be paid. Definitely, this thing is in cum div. The share price are in cum div, so you have to convert it to X div. So convert cum div to X div. Now, how do we convert it? Your X div. What is the price per share? They said 10% premium. 10% premium. Premium means above the nominal value. And they've given us our price to be 200,000 naira total. Definitely, you will increase this thing by 10%. This 200,000 by 10%. So 10% of 200,000 is 20,000. So your 20,000 plus 200,000, that will give you 220,000. So your market value is 220,000. Or if you don't want to do it like that, since you know that you are increasing it by 10%, just say your price per share, your market value will be 110% of 200,000. Remember, this is the market value, but it is in cum div. So you are going to deduct your dividend from it, which is 25,000, so that you convert it back to X div. So you just see 220,000 naira minus 25,000. Definitely the market value X div is 195,000. So that's what you write here, 195,000 naira times 100. Remember, you always express it in percentage. So this is the end result. Remember, I told you, if you don't want to do it like this, you can use it in another format. You can convert the dividend to dividend per share. Remember, I told you, you can use many methods for cost of capital. So, or you can say, or you convert this, the dividend, 25,000 dividend, you convert it to dividend per share. You divide it by the number of ordinary shares. You also convert this market value, the market value here, or this one, anyone, this one here, you convert it, you convert the market value to the market value per share. You convert it to market value per share, price per share. So to convert it to dividend per share, that's what we call DPS, dividend per share. Now, your 25,000. Remember, they did not give us the nominal value, the per share. Nominal value of this. You assume it is 1 naira. So you divide this by 200,000 shares. So remember, I told you, you assume that this is 1 naira because the market value, the nominal value is not given per share. So you assume it is 1 naira. Then they said the market value will be 10% premium. You should increase it by 10% premium. So you increase it by 10%. You now say times 110%. So definitely the market price per share is 1 naira and 10 kobo. Since you've done that, now remember this thing is in cum div. So you have to convert it to x div. So convert to x div. So that will be 1.10 minus this dividend is 0.125. Now this is it. You now divide. Remember, your formula is KE is equals to DU all over PS x div. So you just say your DU is 0.125. Then this, your PS x div is 0.975 times 100. So this is the end result. So I won't use two format again. So you'll be doing that yourself. I'll just use one format that I like. So let's go to where now we are through with where the cost of equity is without growth. Now let's go to where we have cost of equity with growth. Now under this cost of equity with growth, shareholders expect that their dividend will always increase each year. And how will dividend increase? Dividend will increase if there are viable investments that the company can embark on. Now, the formula for cost of equity with growth is KE is equals to DO open bracket 1 plus G all over this, or this here. Now, where this is the where DO is this current dividend here, D1 is this estimated dividend. Now the difference between the two is if, and your G is growth rate. If this one, if question gave you the current dividend which has not incorporate growth in it, you use this formula. But if the question gave you a dividend which has incorporates growth, you use this. Which has growth in it, you use this. Definitely, if question says estimated dividend, you use this. Or next year's dividend, you use this. Are you getting it now? But if the question is silent as to that fact, you use this one here. So now let's look at illustration 3 so that you know how to calculate for where cost of equity is with. Now let's look at this. Funky Nigeria Limited, Nigeria PLC, dealer in all kinds of wares, has an equity share capital of 500,000 naira. The company declared a dividend of 50,000 naira to all equity holders. Look at the share capital, 500,000. Look at the dividend, 50,000 to all equity shareholders, growing thereafter at a rate of 10%. Shares are currently valued at 5% discount. Remember that discount means below the nominal value. Below the nominal value. And this is the nominal value, 500,000 naira. So, the next thing, remember, there is growth rate of 10%. So, we are using cost of equity with growth. So, the formula we are using, and even this, definitely we'll be using, since the question did not say estimated dividend, next dividend, definitely we'll be using this first formula here. We'll be using this formula here. You can see, we'll be using this formula here, DO, not this one. Assuming the question says the next estimated dividend now, so that's when we are going to use this, but we are using this formula. So KE is equals to DO, open bracket 1 plus G, all over. So this is the dividend, can you see? So then our growth rate, 10%, 1 plus 0.1, all over PS X div. Remember that the market value. So to get our market value now, they said the current value at the shares are currently valued at 5% discount. Since it is 5% discount, definitely we are going to reduce this thing by 5%. Definitely our market value will be 95% of this. Remember, discount means you reduce it by 5%. Definitely our current market value will now be 95% of 500,000. So this is the end result. So that's just that about that. But there are some situations where the examiner will not give you growth in your question. You'll be the one to determine your growth by yourself. So we have two ways of determining growth in dividend. We have two ways of determining growth in dividend. The first method is how to determine growth in dividend. Number one is the dividend trend method, which the formula is this. So here or here. You can see that the difference between these two formulas is that this one has nth root. You can see that this one is nth minus 1 root. So the difference between this thing is, if the dividend they gave you in the question was arranged sequentially, you use this. But if they did not give you the dividend sequentially, you use this. What do I mean by sequential? For example, if they said dividend, they gave you dividend for 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, like that. This means that they arrange it sequentially, they arrange it. Definitely you have to use this one here. But if they just say 2009, they now left 2010, they now jump to 2013. Definitely they did not arrange it sequentially. We are going to use this method. Can you see the difference now? There is a reason why they did like this, which is best known to me. which you might not be able to understand. So let's proceed to the second method. And based on this, the LD is the latest dividend, that is the current year dividend or current dividend. Then the BD is base dividend. Here the latest dividend is 2013, which is the current year. Then the earliest year is 2013. Then the base dividend is 2009. Same thing goes to this. Are you getting it now? So let's look at the second method. The second method is what we know as the Gordon method. Gordon method. So the Gordon method, the formula for Gordon method is G is equals to RB, where your G is your growth rate, your R is return on investment, or you can call it return on capital employed. You can call it that. So the current earnings, the formula for that one is current earnings all over net assets. If you are using return on investment, if you are using capital employed, you use current earnings all over capital employed. For B, retention rate. Retention rate, that is the proportion of retained earnings to current earnings. They want to know the proportion they are retaining out of the earnings they made. Earnings means profit. Out of what they made, they want to look at the proportion that they retain. So that's the power of retention rate. And for retained earnings is current earnings minus current dividend, not ordinary current dividend. And the dividend you are going to pick is the dividend of ordinary shareholders, not preference shareholders. Now I'll give us some illustration that will guide us in solving the two approach, how to solve the two approach. So let's look at this next illustration. Illustration 4. Illustration 4. Akapo PLC and Bobo PLC has approached you as a financial analyst, to help in the computation of growth. The information presented to you by each company as follows. Number 1, Akapo PLC current dividend is 30 kobo per ordinary share. That's the current dividend for Akapo. The company also paid a dividend of 15 kobo 6 years ago. 2, Bobo PLC has paid the following dividend. They gave you what? Remember, there are two companies. You are working for both Akapo and Bobo PLC. So this is for Bobo PLC. They've given us the information. Now the next one, number 3. They said Bobo PLC has a net asset of 1,500,000. The company made the current earnings of 150,000. It is the policy of the company to always retain 3/5 of current earnings for future investment purpose. Akapo PLC financial statements showed a value of 5 million and 1.3 million for total assets and total liabilities respectively. The company made earnings of 300,000, out of which 180,000 has been declared as dividend required. In each of these cases, that is case number 1, 2, 3, and 4, calculate the growth rate in each of them. So let's look at the growth rate for case number 1 now. Illustration. Case number 1, Akapo PLC. Now, Akapo PLC, case number 1. Current dividend is 30 kobo per share, and the company also paid a dividend of 15 kobo 16 years ago. Remember, you are calculating growth rate. So here you can see one thing I did not mention is even when the examiner does not tell you that there is growth in this question, you have to determine whether there is growth in the question, and even if you determine whether there is growth in the question, which approach are you going to apply out of those two methods that I gave you, which is the dividend trend method and Gordon method. Remember, if you are saying dividend 6 years ago, dividend kinikon, dividend in 2000 and kinikon, you should know that, have that at the back of your mind, that you have to use dividend trend method. If you see net assets, current earnings, stuffs like that, capital employed, you should know that you have to use Gordon. Are you getting it now? Those are the simple logic. Now, for this first approach, we have to use the dividend trend method. And even under the dividend trend method, I gave you two formulas, which are this and this. And I said, if the question arrange the dividend sequentially, you have to use this. If not, you use this. But look at this one. You can see that Akapo PLC did not arrange the dividend sequentially. Definitely we have to use this first one here. So let's proceed. So G is equals to nth root of LD all over base dividend minus 1, where your n is how many years? 6 years. N is 6 years. You write your 6. Your latest dividend, which is the current dividend, you write 30 kobo all over your base dividend is 15 kobo minus 1. Now you will now press your calculator. You have to be very, very careful when pressing your calculator. In order for you to get this, in order for you to determine this, to get this, remember I said this is the 6th root, not 6 root, this, the 6th root of this. So in order for you to determine that, now you now come here. For those using Casio calculator, you first type what is inside this bracket. 30 divided by 15. 30 divided by 15. That gives us 2. Then you now say, you now press 6 shift and this. You can see x square root y. So it is in every calculator. You can find this sign in every calculator. This sign here, this yellow sign, x raised to power y. The shift function, the second function is x root y. So you pick this. Then you now press shift again. Answer. This is the answer. Answer here means that 2 that you got. So here, look at it. Here you press is equals to. You press is equals to. Then you press minus 1. Can you see it? It gives us 0.122. Then you multiply it by 100. So that will give us like approximately 12.25%, or let's just say 12.3%. So that's 12%, approximately 12%. So the second case, this is the second requirement. It says Akapo PLC Bobo PLC has paid the following dividend. So they've given you. You see that this one is arranged sequentially compared to this. This one, they just give you the current dividend, they gave you dividend 6 years ago. You can see, but this one, they've given us the figure each per year they've given us. So this is the latest dividend and this is the base dividend. So definitely the formula we are going to use will be this formula here. We are going to include -1 here. So Roman figure 2, Bobo PLC. So G is equals to nth root LD all over BD -1. So sorry, n -1. So definitely we have, how many years is this? So we have 5 years. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 years. So you write your 5. 5 -1. Nth root. Latest dividend is 55 kobo. And the base dividend is 20 kobo. -1. So you press your calculator. Yeah?
Is that correct?
See your mom.
Yes.
Oh. Clarity.
What is that check something?
Oh. Listen. Tell about more.
I read away from it.
Let's you question. This is the end result. So this is the end result, 6%. So for the third one now, for the fourth requirement, Akapo PLC financial statement shows a value of 5 million and 1.3 for total assets and liabilities respectively. The company made earnings of 300,000, out of which 180,000 has been declared as dividend. Now this one also suitable for Gordon, so you can only use Gordon for this because total assets minus total liability will give you net assets. Are you getting it now? So definitely you have to use Gordon. So remember, current earnings all over net assets is your R. Your current earnings is 300,000 and your net assets is 5 million minus 1.3 million. That should be 3.7 million. So 5 million. So our current earnings is 300,000. Then net assets will be 3,700,000. Then B is retention rate. Remember your retention rate is retained earnings all over current earnings. Current earnings is 300. And your dividend, and you remember your retained earnings is current earnings minus current dividend. So definitely your retained earnings will be 300,000 minus 180,000 all over 300,000. That will be 120,000. Your 120,000 is your retained earnings all over 300,000. So you just say 0.08 multiplied by 0.4. So that will give us, let's just say 30%. So you multiply your answer by 100, that will give you 3%. like that. So that's that about the illustration 3. I hope you understand. So let's take a look at the last illustration for this lecture, for today, which is illustration 4. Yeah, illustration 5. Now, you are given the following information about 2 companies which are both financed by equity. So they've given us the number of ordinary shares, ordinary share capital, market value per share. They've given us the information. Dividend 5 years ago. They've given us. Both companies are in the same line of business and sell similar products. Required. Calculate the growth rate of both companies using the dividend trend method and B, using Gordon method. We should calculate the growth rate for company A and company B. Dividend trend method. Since the dividends are not arranged sequentially, we will be using this formula. N LD all over BD minus 1. Your N is 5 years ago, so that's 5 years. This is for company A and company B. So for company A, G is equals to 5. The latest dividend, which is the current dividend, 6158. All over your base dividend, that is dividend 5 years ago, 2473. Minus 1. Then for company B, G is equals to the fifth root of your current dividend 48130 all over the dividend 5 years ago, 37600 minus 1. I got this. For Gordon, current earnings, net assets, or capital employed. So this is the current earnings, this is net asset for company A. For company B, this is it. Then for B, retention rate, current earnings minus current dividend all over current earnings. Current earnings minus current dividend all over current earnings. So whatever it gives, so 0.2 times 0.9. For this one, you have 0.22 times 0.25. So this is the result. Let's look at the next requirement. Calculate the cost of capital for both companies using each of the growth rates calculated in requirement 1 above. So we are going to use KE is equals to DO, like that. So for company A and company B, we will first use the dividend trend method. So we got 20% here and we got 5% here. So the G is 0.2, 20%, all over market value. Remember, the market value they give us is in per share. So we have to convert it to total market value. Since the dividend is in total, so definitely we have to convert the market value also to total market value. So that would be 3.42 market value PS will be 3.42 times 150,000. So remember, for growth rate of company B, we have 5%. 5% means 0.05 all over. What you did here, you also do the same thing for company B. So we have a market value of 0.65 here. Then you multiply it by 500,000 to give you the total market value. So we have 0.65 times 500,000. That's 325,000. So you write your 325,000 plus 0.05. So for Gordon, you still use the same thing, 6158. You only change the growth rate that is calculated here. The growth rate, you use 18% and 5.5% for company A and B respectively. So that's just you just do. So this is the final answer. I hope you enjoyed today's class. So the next video on financial management, I shall be treating the cost of preference share and the cost of preference share and cost of debenture, both redeemable and irredeemable debenture. Thank you for watching.